yeah, I thought, well, I'll take the number one because it's such smooth sailing. Then I'll head up the number nine north. But it was so foggy, and then all of a sudden, there was this big detour. So I ended up on a gravel road, and then almost like a turkey trail. It was all washboarded out, and I couldn't hardly see my hand in front of my face, and it's actually quite dangerous.
Oh, but, yeah, it gets very foggy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something else. And it was quite an adventure. I didn't get here till like 10 o'clock last night. But I think it's all going to work out really well. I've moved my slot back at the meeting until later. But it's kind of an interesting agenda. They got 2 hours of presentations, like just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And then they're going sledding at 11.
Oh, wow.
So you can see to get the priorities straight.
Get this work out of the way so we can have the fun stuff.
That's right.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm not. Apparently they got a bunch of extra sleds, but I didn't bring my Ski-Doo suit.
No. You're tough.
I don't even know how much great snow. There's more snow here for sure. And I was in Swan River the other day, and they're pretty lucky up there. But man, those guys are super, super stoked for the Crystal Green, hey?
Yeah, I think they are on board. Yeah, yep. Yeah, they're in a unique spot where they have a lot of history on their soils, and they know their land very well, right? So it's one of those products, like I told you, and you can identify where it doesn't fit, and it's pretty easy to focus on where it does, and they have that opportunity. So it's yeah, I think they'll do a good job of it, and they got the information required to put it in the right spot. So.
Well, they're awesome implementers. Like I find with our product too, it takes that extra amount of agronomy and data and trust and stuff. And they just have all the angles with their customers, the agronomy, the retail, the research, and they're doing a heck of a job. They just hired another guy out there when he was starting as his first day there. And yeah, they're really, really professional. You were on their advisory board, I guess, eh?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He asked me to sit on it, which is what I said to them. It was almost more beneficial for me than it was for them. I learned a lot from everybody else around the table. So, what you usually do when you get into those opportunities, it's a lot of interesting conversations and thought processes. So, yeah, and then hats off to them. They're not short of opportunities. It's just, they're looking for a little bit of guidance on decision making, and so yeah, it's a good experience.
Yeah, Ryan was really excited about it and spoke really highly of the experience. And Kerry put together an advisory board for us, and we're going to go down to San Francisco here shortly, actually, for some sort of San Francisco World Tech. You can see my screen okay? Did you log into the link?
Just a second here.
I don't know if it's World or Tech, Ag Tech. Can never remember the name of the show. World Agritech Innovation Summit. Yeah, you should be able to see my screen if you click on that link. You might have to download something, but yeah, so we're going to this World Agritech Innovation Summit March 20th and 21st, and then there's a Future Food Expo as well. And they are going to be talking about some really crazy stuff.
Yep. From like the consumer side? Or
I think it'll be all angles. I think it's kind of a CEO mixer, a lot of business people looking for opportunities.
Cool.
Yeah, it should be really cool. Blockchain, vertical farming, artificial intelligence, robots. Okay, well, I think we're going to... What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
You might as well be on the thin edge of the wedge. That's where you want to be.
Well, I just think it'll be one of those things that who knows what opportunities will come out of it, and it'll really open our eyes to new opportunities and where things are going. Because I think that'll it's going to be really exciting. And then the value of the advisory board, it's going to be hard to quantify. I'm pretty excited about it. It's coming at a really unique time too for us, which I guess we're always, when you're in this growth phase, seems like there's crises around every corner, and from that you kind of leap to the next level. So that's kind of where we're at again.
Yep.
Growth, baby, growth.
You got to take hold. Get on.
Well, good morning, everybody. I think we got about 13 on the call, it looks like, and today is going to be a very special dealer webinar because we have an awesome guest with us by the name of Craig Davidson, virtually my neighbor, just down the road at Burden, Manitoba, and they built one hell of a company, and we're going to be talking about that today and how they did it and what that all looks like. But I thought I'd put a riding bull here at the front slide just in honor of the name Taurus. How'd you pick the name Taurus?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. And thanks for having me on, Dan.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? It was actually when Taurus was formed as a company, there was 3 partners at the time, and 2 of the 3 were actually born in May, which on I guess, what do you call that scale?
Your horoscope or the
horoscope?
Yeah, astrology.
They thought it was fitting, and then I did too. And actually, my sign is Cancer, so we didn't think that was a great one to use.
It doesn't strike the same tone as a brand name, Cancer.
No. So that was decision number 1. Pick a.
Wow, I didn't know you guys were into horoscopes. That's fascinating. Yeah. But I do like the bull, largely from my stock trading days, the bull and the bear. Always loved that concept of the bull striking with the horns going up and the bear striking with the claws going down. And it's a good image. So I thought I'd use a little bit of bull riding here to get the blood flowing first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and you know what? It was kind of fitting for, the approach we wanted to take to the marketplace. And, we wanted to be aggressive. We wanted to be different. We wanted to take people where they wouldn't go on their own, and jump on and hang on.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys have done an awesome job, and it's pretty exciting. So if we have any audio issues here, can somebody just send me a text? I think we're okay. You can hear me good, right, Craig? We're all good to go?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I'm just going to run through a few quick things here in terms of our dealer group, like we usually do. I always use my guests as hook, line, and sinker to get the dealers on and add some more value to the call. But our agenda is fairly typical. We're going to talk about safety, talk about the scoreboard, talk about pricing, talk about our marketing efforts, talk about things that are up and coming, do a little bit of sales training. And then we'll get into our dealer guest. I want to be quick this morning because I have another meeting coming up, so I'll try and be more to the point than my usual self, which I'm sure everybody will appreciate. But we always start out with a little bit of a safety talk. It's a core value. It's a really important thing in our business. We always start our business meetings and all that with a little bit of a safety thing. I wanted to show you guys something we'll be releasing to you here very shortly. We had an amazing focus group on the second day of the Trusted Applicator Summit, and it was extraordinary, the amount of engagement and the input that we had. And so Allison has taken her notes and put them into a little bit of a spreadsheet here that we'll be sharing with all of you. And on the topic of safety, we spent almost a morning on it, and we came up with all kinds of stuff in the categories of dangers, opportunities, strengths, and the actions to take based on that conversation. It was really fruitful and just gets everybody in the right mindset. So I appreciate everybody's input on that. We're going to make that available to the network. You can see a bunch of other great topics here that we talked about as well, but that's what I wanted to share for safety today. So thanks everyone that came to the summit and participated in that with us. The scoreboard, we moved another 10,000 acres, another 1,000 metric tons in the month of February. Just trying to think which months we're in here. So that's moving along. We're moving to a goal of 40 to 45,000 metric tons by the end of April. If we can do more, that'd be awesome. I want to share with you guys the updated pricing just to remind everybody where we're at. I don't know if we're absolutely crazy, Craig, or not, but this is our approach to market with BioSol. We offer people the prices on our website at this time. We publish the retail prices so that people can see at a glance. They don't have to get a price. If they're comparing prices from their retailer or whatever, they can just come here and automatically see what's available at what time of the year. And our idea is that we'd offer value to customers by seeing the schedule and deciding when they're going to buy. And of course, the earlier you buy, the more incentive there is to buy. So we're currently in the month of March, so we're $280 a ton, and that's in Saskatchewan, and $300 a ton in Western Manitoba, and $310 in Eastern Manitoba. So that is what we are quoting this month, folks. And just a reminder that the pricing per pound, if you're looking to speak with your customers about what they're using now and what BioSol would offer them, I really think that going through the exercise of comparing the cost per pound of what they're doing now to the BioSol program is really fruitful, because some of the objections are, of course, the upfront costs. But if you look at putting even 50, 60 pounds down of AMS over a 5-year period, where the price of AMS currently is about 52 cents for the actual S, that's $25, $30 an acre over that 5-year period, and really you can get 2 to 3 times the amount of BioSol down with one application. And that's where the math for the application, all that starts to look pretty juicy for our customers. How do you guys manage that, Craig? Do you publish prices, or is that more of a dealer affair with the majority of products?
We usually have a suggested retail price that we would send to our customer base, and we do a few different things, honestly. So it's not all, I guess, the same, but relatively speaking, we have a suggested price that allows them to make a certain percentage of margin that hopefully is equitable for their business. I don't mind your strategy. I think that's one thing that today's consumers are looking for is clarity and openness. It's everybody has an opportunity to find information if they want today, and you might as well be upfront as much as possible, and that eliminates a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, I don't mind the approach.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. It's always a bit of a challenge to know which way to go with it, and this is one of our very early strategies that I'm sure will evolve over time. But a lot of I think just the nature of our business right now and where we're at in the growth cycle, I think it's still appropriate, but we have been debating whether we would have a suggested retail behind the scenes, as you suggest, and then let dealers value add or block and tackle it however they like. But I do think your point about what customers are looking for is extremely valid. There was a comment on Twitter that this is one of the things that they like most about BioSol. You can go on the website, get the price, you don't have to fool around. And if you look at things like Farmers Business Network come to the market, Amazon, everybody's getting into that model of thinking. And it was really interesting. I was watching a speech last night from a guy who was talking about how retail in America is essentially dead, bricks and mortar. It's over for the Sears and the other big box stores. Everything's going to change so much, and I think we'll see some of that in agriculture. I'm sure you can talk about that a little bit later too, what you see coming down the marketplace pipeline. But that's what we're doing for now. We're still going to stick with it. I guess we'll see what we do for fall here. But it's really a function of our dealer network being kind of young too, and I think as it matures, we'll move on from that concept. The trade show calendar. Well, we have pretty much done most of the trade shows and events, and it's now go time. We've set the stage, and it's time to rock and roll. I don't think we have any more upcoming trade shows, but I will say that there's some massive plans that should come to fruition at Ag in Motion that are going to be absolutely amazing. Very excited about that. So I won't say anything more, but I can say it's going to be extremely big. We kind of got fortunate on that, and it's going to make one hell of a splash, guaranteed. Oh, the Trusted Applicator Sound, I'm telling you guys, that was really, really amazing. We appreciate everybody coming out. I think we had 70, 80 people over the couple of days. And we actually had somebody attend from Taurus Ag. Adam Smith came by. That was appreciated. He gave some good input on the second day from your guys' perspective. And I mean, I really like working with you guys because you're way, way ahead and above and beyond where we are and where we want to be. It's always good to get that mentorship hand up. But we had presentations, we had a game show, we had a dealer panel, we had focus groups, we had a tour of the pad, we had really great fellowship and whining and dining, and it was amazing. Events are always really good. It's a big part of what we do. I'm looking at a way to get people more engaged in the future, and it's really interesting because I know we adapted GAR's business plan, and one of the things was, you have to have 2.5 days of training to be a GAR's dealer, and I just started thinking a little bit about how can we really get people engaged, because what happens, Craig, when we bring people to these events, they just leave so much more engaged, and they're not such an island, and they see the people that are in the business, they get educated, they go out with a renewed sense of vigor, they renew their commitment to the business. I've seen it. It's, I don't want to say it's transformational here without, at the risk of sounding a little bit like Tony Robbins, but I will say that Elston did, at the end of the event, walk across hot coals. But it was really amazing. And are you guys doing events, and how do you get people out to your events?
You know what? That's one thing we've talked about is actually, which we haven't done, but having a Taurus kind of outside the box, futuristic, where's agriculture going mindset. And I think part of our challenge as a business is because we've done so many different things over the years. It's maybe been hard to pull that all together and get the people we want. But I would say, hats off to having the ability to put one together and get everybody in. I'd say the biggest thing is culture, right? I mean, if you can actually get everybody feeling like they're doing something for a reason and they have a purpose, and it's having an impact for their customer base or their growers, it's making a difference in agriculture, then these types of events are really more than anything. It's an opportunity to, one, ingrain in culture or build a culture that I always say it's not what you say, it's how you act and the emotion that you emit from your body that really that's what people read. And so these types of events, if you build that, then it's probably easier to go out and do your job in the marketplace, and because you believe in something, you believe you're part of something that's making a bigger difference. It's changing the way we think about the production of food and agriculture.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun if you guys do have an event. If you need a really entertaining, engaging, dynamic, and extremely handsome MC, I'd probably volunteer for a small fee. But I love doing that stuff. It's a great honor, and it's a high energy event, and we want to keep pumping it up. And I've been thinking about how do I I wonder if we had some sort of training pool or some sort of fees where people had some skin in the game to come, because the spend on this stuff is incredible on all levels. And we do 2 of them a year, and it's just really massive investment. But the ROI comes when people come and they get that culture and they're extremely engaged when they leave. And it just, we get new dealers every time. We get existing dealers more engaged than ever and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm part of something, and it's extremely cool. It's changing industry when you get to see the pad and what's going on there and get a feel for the manufacturer. It's highly engaging. So one of the things I'm thinking about going forward here is how do we make it, I guess, more of a buy-in. I don't want to say requirement, but more of a buy-in for the dealers, given the level of investment that we're making, and the education side too. I mean, people that come to these events are engaged, and they're talking the same talk that we're talking. And on that note, one of the things that we're rolling out here, Craig, is business plans. for dealers, and this is just going to be an exercise that helps us have the right conversations. I adapted this from the GARS business plan, God bless them, thanks Dave Sullivan. And it's just an exercise to go through, why are we doing this business? What's the importance of it to you? What does it look like if it's a successful project? And, you know, what are the dangers and the opportunities and strengths you're dealing with? What do you want it to look like in 3 years? How much time can you commit? What else are you working on? Your sales history, sales achievement to date. This is something that's really early for us, but we want to build it over the years. We want to start early. I mean, if we were doing this 5 years down the road, I'm sure we would have wished we started way earlier. And just discussing what was working, not working, having some sales goals. I mean, if you don't have a goal, it's pretty hard to get there. How are we going to do it? How are we going to generate leads and prospect? We'll talk about that very briefly here shortly. Referrals and all that, retention, sales cycle. I don't want to dwell on this too much, but, you know, getting a timeline of activities down. I think it's going to be a really good conversation. I'm really excited about it, and frankly, we need to do this to project as accurately as possible for the manufacturer, because they're literally moving huge amounts of compost and sulfur around to be strategic for the pads in Alberta and Saskatchewan and eventually Manitoba. Are you guys doing business plans with your dealer, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, you know what, we actually, I guess two things. One would be, I guess, similar internally. You know, we always get together on an annual basis and update our 5-year vision to make sure that, you know, we're moving ahead and things change, honestly. I mean, when you get into business, you do realize that, you know, you put a plan in place, but plans change, and there's always a little bit of strategy on the go. But as long as you put yourself out there far enough, what it does more than anything for me, I'd say, is it eliminates some of the day-to-day challenges if you know where you're headed or where you're trying to get to. And so, yes, we do the same with our customer base, in the sense that, you know, we want to sit down and figure out, more than anything, maybe not so much about us, but where are they going with their business and what do they want to achieve, and is there something that we can help them with, or you know, find a product or a technology that could fill a hole or a void that they may have in their business or their marketplace. So no question. I mean, it's sometimes it seems somewhat mundane and boring to actually sit down and think about the future and figure out where you want to go, because you're not actually doing it at that point. You're trying to strategize, but it's key. It's integral, I'd say. Without it, it's you will find these little challenges on a day-to-day basis when they're going to come. They're not avoidable. They become bigger and they fester, and like, geez, that's all you think about is the challenge that you face today or the challenge tomorrow. But with the plan, with a long-term strategy or vision in place, then it's these little hiccups or roadblocks that will always present themselves. You know, you just deal with them and move on. And you know, we've been in business for 18 years, and I'm not sure if the challenges have outweighed the opportunities, but it's you know, we've always had a long-term plan and strategy in place to pursue, and I guess that's what keeps you sane from a day-to-day perspective.
Absolutely, I hear you. Yeah, and I'm sure your business has evolved a lot over the years. Well, that's really cool. Thanks for the input. I'm going to do a little bit of sales training now. Craig, I just added you to our daily sales email. I took the liberty of putting you on there, and if you don't want it, just send me like the middle finger or something by text. But what I've been doing is doing daily sales training with Grant Cardone Training, a platform that we're on internally, and I've added some of their dealers that wanted to learn sales as a skill and an art, and there's just so much great content on there. So today I would just want to talk quickly about prospecting. And this really gives a person a lot of clarity and vision about, hey, how do I actually go about doing this? And it's probably something we don't think about and clarify often enough in our professional sales lives. But there's a difference between prospecting and there's a difference between prospecting and selling. And there's a fine line between the two. And really, prospecting, you're looking to keep your pipeline full. And this is so that you're not going to be dependent on the economy out there. We can think about all kinds of things that are going on in the market. You know, grain isn't moving, it's dry. You know, Justin Trudeau's dancing around like an idiot in India, yada, yada, yada. But really, if you expand your net of prospecting, you're not going to be as dependent on the economy. You really need to create large scales of quantity here to make this fruitful. You got to generate your own opportunities, and it's likely the most valuable skill you'll ever develop besides actual closing. Because if you don't have anyone in your pipeline, who in heck are you going to close? You need people to close. And one of the really valuable things that come out of this, I think it alludes to what you were saying earlier, Craig, about having a long-term vision in place. I think prospecting is similar in the way that you're kind of giving them the middle finger to doubt. You're kind of not sitting there thinking, how am I going to sell anything? What's going to happen? But I mean, if you're talking to 10, 20, 30 people at any given time, you're going to be in that abundance mindset. And if somebody's not ready or somebody doesn't, you know, particularly think your product is a fit, or they're, you know, just in a different stage of the buying cycle, it's basically next. And you always have a sense that you have activity on the go. You need to make it a daily practice. Writing down your goals every day really helps. And you want people to get to know you. That's, you know, you want to add value to them essentially for free without having a huge ask at that point. The most intelligent, sophisticated businesses that are in tune with the marketplace are doing that jab, hook, where they're giving value, and then there's an ask in there somewhere. But you want to give them as much information as possible. You want to let them know that you're out there. You want to raise awareness about you and your business and why they should do business with you. And if you want to get your activity high, just think in terms of 10 sales calls, 10 visits, 10 emails, 10 posts, whatever it is. And you should be setting your expectations high. And this is what's going to create that momentum and that pipeline to get your rocket and roll on. It's extremely important. Then the other thing I was going to mention too, for anybody who missed the summit, or just to recap, our big theme was the law of the lid. This is the #1 rule in 21 Laws of Leadership from John Maxwell. And Travis Drager reminded me about it. He's a big fan of John Maxwell before the summit, so that I kind of grabbed onto that and made it the theme. But the general theme is, if you don't have the right leadership in place, or you don't become the leader you want to be, then you'll always be limited. If you're 5 out of 10 on a leadership scale, your own business is only going to hit 3 or 4. If you're a 7, you might get, you know, up to 5 or 6. If you're an 8 or a 9, well, then your business is going to get to that 7 or 8 stage of where you want it to be. And really, we're only limited by our leadership. And I think we've seen the results with Taurus, the level of leadership, and that is what has made them great. So kudos to you, Craig. But I would say to anybody that's interested, that isn't on my daily emailing list, you're welcome to join us. It's a free enterprise. It's via email, so there's really no cost to anybody in the universe. And I really enjoy getting feedback on that. And I've had a lot of people say that it's just a daily dose of good sales material. So that is that. We are going to move into our guest segment, our Growing the Future podcast segment. Today we have a very special guest with us by the name of Craig Davidson. And Craig and his partners have built one heck of a company. It was founded in 2001. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of the scope and the reach of this thing that they've built in the last 17 years, an interesting statistic is that they've had $550 million of sales at the retail level. And if you translate that into a 3-to-1 return on your investment, that's $2 billion in value at the grower level. So that's a pretty mind-blowing statistic. So again, I love these entrepreneurs that start with an idea and build something really beautiful to bring stuff to the market. They operate as essentially a manufacturer's rep, is how they've positioned, so a liaison between the manufacturer and the retail level and the producer, and they offer tons of value in terms of their science and their people to the marketplace. And I really look up to the company and what you've done, Craig, and I'm super excited to have you on the show today. So welcome.
Thank you.
Right on. So we got our dealer webinar done, and you got the kids on the bus, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm being Mr. Mom today. My wife's away, so wearing a few hats this morning. Yeah.
Well, they're both really important. So
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool things today. Just give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you got this thing started and the journey and the company.
Sure, you bet. Yeah, I guess I'd call myself a farm boy. I grew up in western Manitoba in a mixed farming operation. The core of the farm was actually dairy. So I said, my dad at 7, it's like, geez, I know how to drive a tractor and I know how to stack bales. That's what else is there to do in life? And and one thing growing up on a farm, it taught you how to work and have an appreciation for what it takes to actually produce crops or food or milk or whatever we were doing at the time, of beef. But it was, call it a stepping stone for, really intrigued my interest in what else is out there. It can be a grind. It's, the day to day and trying to be successful or profitable on a farm. I mean, I learned that early in life, but the other side of the business was one that was intriguing to me, and I was fortunate enough to actually, went to college, and it was the stepping stone to get into the industry side of the business. Started working with a manufacturing company out of Alberta, and they actually give us the opportunity to travel, not just locally, but they're a young company, a growing company, not a whole lot different than Dan's business. And at the time, it was like they just said, "Hey, we want to go find out what's in North Carolina. Can you do it?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm like 21, 22 years old. I've never been outside of Western Canada, but yeah, we could. We'll go check that out and see what's in North Carolina." And it kind of took away these, obviously the intimidation factor. And I could tell you honestly, growing up, I was somewhat of an introvert, and I still am. Personalities don't change, but it allowed me to see the world and seeing what really was out there. And at the same time, what ended up being my business partner in Taurus, Darren Bryant, we both were doing similar things, and he was actually traveling the world, and it gave us an appreciation that, hey, where we're from, this Western Canada is just a great place with great opportunity, and we found all these companies further abroad that said, geez, we don't know that market, but we'd love to be there, and we think we have something unique that could offer value. And that's how Taurus was started, really. It was from us traveling all over the country, North America for me, and the world for Darren, and finding companies that wanted to be here and had appreciation for what this area could do. And so, yeah, back in 2001, as Dan said, that's when we started Taurus. And it was this idea that we could be the conduit between a manufacturer and a retailer. But we really had this belief that, we could bring some new value, something different, something unique that could change the way people think about growing crops. And so that was the foundation of the business. And, over the last 17, 18 years, I guess the premise or the basis of how we operate really hasn't changed. I mean, we're always looking for new and innovative thought processes, or, if we can find a technology that is kind of on the leading edge, we're probably more ingrained in the fact that we want to see it through to, a scientific result today. And we're doing lots of research, but it's the end goal is we never stop looking for new things that could offer value. And because we have such a tremendous marketplace here, I would say the progressiveness of growers, maybe because the growers have changed, meaning that they've consolidated, and the ones that have continued on are by default more progressive because it had to be. We just see the acceptance or the uptake of of new things is as good a market as any in North America or the world. And for that, that's why I think Western Canada is kind of viewed as a leader in the world because of our grower base that is prepared to handle some adversity in a short growing season and look for ways to move the bar higher. And that's been the premise of our businesses, to be that conduit to find some of those new things that can be successful here in this market. And so we continue on with that approach. We've gone a little further abroad than Western Canada as we've evolved, but the fundamental basis of our business really hasn't changed. And it's been a lot of fun. Not without challenge, but yeah.
I bet.
Yes.
Well, you talked about the challenges earlier. You alluded to that. And I think one of the things that gets a guy and a company through that is having some core values to kind of revert back to that. What have you guys fallen back on as core values to get you through the tough times as you grew a massive business like this?
I think you have to have a purpose, I guess. And, you won't, for us, it's, we had this belief early on that we could make a difference. And some of the challenges would come out of the fact that, we'd find something and, we thought it made sense, and, a year or two and you'd say, I'm not sure if it was the right fit for here. And yet, if you had to stop there and say, this doesn't work anymore, we're done. We had to continue to say, geez, there's more out there, there's more to be had, there's more to be found. And so for us, going back to, what we felt we were good at is, we had a passion in the sense that we fundamentally, back to day one to even today, we believe we are changing agriculture. We do believe that the things that we're involved in are changing mindsets. We're changing the production of grains. And, for us now, this whole mindset of how do we do it, and do it with the mindset that when we make decisions, we have the end consumer in mind. We hopefully then are bringing innovations or technologies that actually have a story. They're positive changes that are not just good for the producer and profitable on the acre, but they also, have a story to be told that can that the end consumer wants to hear. And so, in the last, call it 5-7 years, it hasn't been just about finding technologies, it's about finding innovations that actually have a play on sustainability and give the grower a stronger voice to tell their story, that they're not just farming and producing a crop, they're stewards of the land, and they're doing everything possible to actually, produce a healthy food that from a soil that's going to be as good or better than the soil when they took the land on. And those opportunities are there today. Because of all the focus on agriculture and the investment in this business, it's just a fantastic time to be involved. And
it's getting very interesting. I think people are going to be making choices based on sustainability in the future. Spoke to the young farmers there at CYFF on the weekend. It's just a different demographic. Things are certainly changing with how the consumer is and our customers are going to be making choices. I think we're just at the TSN turning point on that. What are you thinking about building a brand these days? You guys are all about your brand, bringing products to market with your brand. That must have changed a lot in the last 17 years, I guess, for you guys, eh?
Yes. I look at, I would say number one is, and hats off to your business, Dan, is, I think if you can start with a culture internally, why are you doing what you're doing? What is your purpose in life? And can you admit that out without actually having to say it, the things, your actions. But if you get there, then ultimately then that's going to play into building your brand. What do you stand for? What do people recognize you for? And today, for our business, that is a focus. Maybe not so much. It wasn't so much from day one. We were more focused on, the companies or the clients that we had, and we wanted to make sure that their brand was forefront, and it still is. It's still very important for our partners in our business, but we'd be cutting them short if we didn't make sure that Taurus was a trusted, meaningful brand in the market that people were aware of or cognizant of and trusted. And I think the biggest thing in branding is actually trust. If you can get to the point where people, without them seeing you or hearing your voice, they see that brand, they see how you're educating or whatever you're doing. It's trust. And I'm not saying people are, the trust factor I'm not saying it's gone down, but because people today can access so much more information on their own, I would say there's maybe a little bit more skepticism if you want to push somebody. And then I think people are more prepared to handle self-education. They want to be able to train themselves and educate themselves. But if you're doing a good job of building brand and building a level of trust in your brand, then that goes a long ways to helping grow your business and earning that respect in the marketplace.
One of the ways that I see you guys doing this very well is you're constantly providing research and agronomic information essentially for free in the forms of your emails and on your websites and you have a lot of tools, and I think that builds trust that you're the expert in the industry. You guys are doing a great job of that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I would say that's been more of an initiative in the last 3 to 4 years, where we've actually always represented a lab. So agronomy and analytics for us is a cornerstone of our business. In A&L, it's a lab. They've been very progressive themselves as a business over that time. But, we maybe weren't doing as much just, call it external educating without, we'd tend to educate directly. We'd say we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about these things, but now we're saying, Jesus, with technology today and the way people communicate, it's we can just post and things that are on our minds that we find engaging or exciting back to agronomy. That it's just storytelling, taking something that might be scientific and try to wrap it into a story that may connect with a retail or a consultant or a grower, that hopefully they could actually take and then use in their operations to change things. So, and we don't have all the answers, honestly. It's we are like sponges ourselves. We love the opportunity to learn, and we follow lots of people that have great pieces of information, and I think that's what I've said. All I tell my kids is that, you're going to school today, and you may not enjoy school today, but ultimately in life, you never stop educating yourself, because it's amazing how much is out there and how much people are learning that we can pick up ourselves.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to NIPO on Monday to talk to a bunch of 10-year-olds. I'm terrified. But I called the teacher and I said, I really like to talk about sales and entrepreneurship, if you don't mind, and branding and technology in agriculture and all the amazing things that are available that maybe they don't get to hear about on a daily basis. So that'll be really interesting. I think I'm just going to do some stream of consciousness for an hour and share a bunch of things that I guess I would have loved to hear at 10 years old that we don't always talk about, because I know sales isn't something that anybody grows up thinking they want to be a salesperson, that I know anyway. It's just like a fireman or a superhero or something like that. Speaking of people, I see your team and your presentation is a big part of that. Talk to me about building the team.
That actually is, I think in any business, I think what you come to realize is if you can get a culture and build a brand and your ideas actually are resonating in the marketplace, ultimately what you'll find is that there is only still 24 hours in a day, and even with technology today, there's only so much one person can do. And it's the idea that, if you could expand this belief of what you do and get more people bought in and ingrained and have that passion, inevitably you're going to find that, you have to surround yourself with people that can share that passion and vision and ingrain themselves in the culture. And at the end of the day, like I said, even with technology, it still comes down to people. People are key to this business we're in, or any business I see in the marketplace, where they want to continue that, growth and involvement of a passion or a culture, and but that also then is a challenge too in business, because it's I think most people would say to find the right people or good people today is really challenging, and so we maybe would say some of our limitation in growth has actually been able to find people that can accept or ingrain themselves in our culture and believe what we believe and want to make that difference. And so we're one of any companies out there that, if we could find more good people in the marketplace to wave that flag and help us build that brand, it's I think we'd be further and broader, and but it's a challenge. But it is the core for our business is good people, and we have a great group of people in Taurus that we're not all the same personalities, and you probably wouldn't want that in your business, because if everybody agreed on everything that was talked about, then chances are you're missing the mark. And
that's true.
Yeah, if you can sit down and have good, constructive conversations that are looked at from 5 or 6 different angles, then it's ultimately, when you sift it through it, hopefully you've come to a point where it's been well thought out and challenged, and your opportunity for success is going to be that much more refined. So in building a business and building a company with people, make sure you do end up with different personalities and people that can think differently, and yet, as long as everybody's can get in the boat and row when it's time to row, then it's then it'll all work. But people we're no different. To grow a business, finding the people that fit is it's always been a limitation or a challenge for us to move that bar.
Yeah, well, obviously you guys got a really great team there. Spent some time with Adam there and some of the rest of the team there at Crop Production, and it's likely your culture and your idea and your innovation and your leadership that attracts good people ultimately to the company. If you could touch on the marketplace today and the customer today, so both what you see is the landscape, how products are getting to market, and how things are changing, and also talk about the target customer for what you do.
Good. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's I think call it when I was at 2008, 2009, we had like high fertilizer price, and then since then grain prices have been pretty strong, and over that time, call it the last 10 years, 10 years, it goes by fast, but the investment into our business has been unparalleled. The interest, you talk about companies on Bay Street, Wall Street that want to be a part of this industry. It hasn't been a bad thing, and I think part of it is, at the same time, we've seen this evolution of the consumer actually having an opportunity to get closer to the producer. We see this movement where the lines between, call it conventional production and organic production, and in the near years here, I'm going to say those lines are going to start to blur, because there are so many companies working on innovations or technologies that actually have that sustainable story, have an opportunity to actually pull something from nature. It's kind of like there's technology in the last 30 years that actually maybe skipped over nature. It went right to like molecular chemistry, and now it's like, geez, with DNA sequencing equipment, we can take stuff from nature. It's always been there. It's always done. Nature's figured itself out, and replicate and commercialize and bring something into agriculture to use in conventional production that is actually could be organic. It could be a natural product. And we've traveled around North America and abroad in recent years looking for things and companies that are working on ideas that are from nature, and I say, wow, it's good because the consumer is pushing, right? And with a lot of access to funding, there's stuff that's going to allow us to be sustainable, be more productive than we are on probably less land that we'll have to farm, and appease the consumer at all fronts to say, hey, we're not just growing food, we're doing it in a manner that is accessing tools from nature that have always been there. So I think we're going to have this. I don't think it's going to be as black and white as people want it to be. People want it to be negative if you're conventional, and you want it to be positive if you're organic. And I'm saying, well, the conventional producers, I say, in this market have always been great stewards of the land. They've always tried to do the best they can with the tools that they've had available to them. And when there's new tools that are coming that allow them to do that, that give them a stronger voice, I would say they're going to be the first to adopt and accept those, because they don't have a need or a desire to be, polluters or destroyers of their land or their soil. And, I see the adoption of these new technologies that are coming. They're going to be very good in this marketplace. So the next 5 to 10 are this having a voice and telling your story and having the tools to do that from a sustainable perspective. Or again, I say it's a good time to be involved in the business.
Yeah, so you alluded you're going across North America looking at all kinds of ideas, and you're really in touch with the market. And I love some of the crazy out there stuff you guys are working on. What really gets you excited about the business for new products and technology and stuff to bring to producers?
Well, I mean, that's, when you look at the production of a crop, you could say really on all levels, all aspects of production, there's some things coming down the pipe. I mean, obviously I look at Eberhard Ag Solutions and what you're doing with food waste and sulfur. To me, that's got a tremendous sustainability story, and it's very innovative, tying directly to the consumer because you're using something coming from a consumer. There's things out there coming from wastewater, city effluent that can be turned into fertilizer, or animal waste, or process waste. So let's stop this broken cycle where nutrients end up in streams, rivers, lakes, oceans, and figure out how to capture that and put that back into the production of food. And that's coming. We've worked and got involved with companies that are using bacteria, and with DNA sequencing today, they've been able to identify, isolate, and reculture strains that actually produce compounds or endophytes that are actually now being used in the process of fighting disease and fighting insects and fighting weeds. And you say, wow, that is you take a compound produced from a bacteria and you put it on a weed and it kills the weed, and you say, wow, how does that work? And yet, because it's never been processed, it's actually from nature. It's a bacteria that produced a compound, and it'll kill a weed. And you say, I cannot believe, don't we need something molecular, scientifically developed to kill a weed? You say, well, today there is stuff out there that actually is coming that, you know, could change the way we think about the production of growing a crop, and not just on a fertility basis, but also on disease and insects and pests like weeds. So it's that's what I say. It's we've been fortunate because we've had a focus on. I always say in our time in business, we need to have 10 things on the go to bring one to market. And so at any given time, we're looking at, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 different innovations or technologies, and usually we find one of them through to fruition. But what it has done for us is it's kind of allowed us to take the blinders off and say, you know, we built a business on conventional production, and yet, you know, I look at the organic sector and segment today that they may have some tools at their fingertips that could allow them to be as productive in the next 5 to 10 years as the conventional acre. And if that happens, then it's going to change the mindset completely at the grower level to say, hey, this is maybe not a bad business that we need to be looking at or considering.
You're kind of a science nerd, hey?
Yeah, you know what? It's I love the idea that we don't. I love the idea that, you know, you live and operate on a daily basis in a box kind of thing, and yet you get out and see what's out there. It's there's lots of people that are, you know, taking that box and throwing it away and saying, how else can we do this? What else can be done? I mean, that's the earth as we know it, right? I mean, that's why humans are such an interesting species, is because we're creative. We're, you know, we look for ways to do things differently, and the good thing is we have a lot of those types of people in agriculture right now that are listening. I think they're listening to the consumer. I'm not saying the consumer is always right, but there's no doubt, you know, sustainability, producing healthy foods, nutrient-dense foods, those are all positives. And there isn't a grower that I don't think would embrace it if he had the opportunity and still be profitable on his acre, because everybody wants to do well. I mean, you can't run a business and not have focus on profitability, but if you can do it and tie in some of these things that actually appease the consumer, then I don't think you'll find too many of your customers that would not be interested in that. And that's obviously Eberhard Ag Solutions and what you're doing, and your retail network is got a great story that you're telling, and it's resonating obviously when I listen to where your business is going.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. It's been a lot of fun. It's been an honor to tell the story. You keep bringing up thinking outside the box a lot. Can you tell me a little bit about your philosophy there and where that came from and how you're implementing that?
You know, I think part of it is right back to the day we started Taurus. You know, you'd say, where is a fit for you in this marketplace? You know, you're not a company with a lot of know-how or knowledge or acceptance. And the fact that we could start a business and do some things that were maybe different in thinking, and you know, we started our whole business saying we need to be different. We can't do what everybody else is doing. Otherwise, we'll get lost in the shuffle. And we are still a small company today. When you look at what's happened in the last, well, it's always happened. I guess we've always seen this amalgamation and consolidation, and everybody really, when you look at what's going on, is everybody wants to do what? They want to get closer to the grower. And so for us, in order to fit in, you know, figure out how the David and Goliath mindset, you know, we needed to do things differently. We couldn't be the same. Otherwise, we didn't have the resources, both in money or people to compete. But if we could do things that made people think, you know, we didn't. Not saying it's an easy road. We don't always get full acceptance, but it's allowed us to to build a brand that people are, you know, they know what we stand for. And we, quite often when we go visit a customer that we've known for a long time, first question they'll ask us is, what do you have that's new? What are you working on right now? And and you say, well, and if I didn't have anything to do that, I'd kind of leave that meeting or conversation saying, geez, I need to go find something new. Otherwise they're thinking we're not doing anything. But
right.
So yeah, I think it's people are actually looking for, people are engaged. I mean, that's why people go on the internet, go on Twitter, and go on Google, is because you are looking for different things. You're looking for outside the box things all the time. That's just the way the mindset is. The human mind is. So if you can be a part of that, if you can help foster that, then you know, maybe not immediate success. It doesn't get the full commercialization, but at the same time, it allows you to goes right back to your opportunity to build that brand.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Your business and your leadership is a big inspiration to us. We always looked up to you guys as sort of what we want to be when we grow up. So it's cool to see where you are and all the stuff you're bringing to market. And we're always looking for ways to work with people and form partnerships and relationships in the industry. So I know you've done a lot of business with my brother on the farm side. That's been really cool. And I just appreciate your time today coming on the show. And if you could leave us with a cocktail party story that you always like to tell, maybe something funny or interesting. Do you got anything for us today? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, you know what, that's, I would say never be, I come from I grew up in a family farm, and, you know, I wouldn't say I was an outgoing kid, but when I got the opportunity to get into this side of the industry, and, you know, I was working for a company, it's kind of funny, a small company, but they had great aspirations, and you know, it was just kind of like, it was what were you prepared to do? And I'm like, I'm pretty shy. I'm not really prepared to do a whole lot, and yet they say get on a plane and go here, go there, and I was getting to a point where I thought I knew enough about agriculture. I would fly into a city and I'd go look for a fertilizer leg and knock on a door, and anyway, they said, hey, would you be interested in taking on this turf and horticultural business? We're thinking of starting one. I'm like, you know, I love growing grass, but you know, I'm not sure I could go tell somebody like Scott's how to grow their business.
Yeah.
But what the hell? Let's go give it a try. And so, yeah, you know what? I actually became like the turf and horticultural manager for their business for a period of time. And I knew nothing, absolutely nothing about it. But it's funny what it came down to. And maybe one thing that I've kind of evolved into really enjoying is just the actual people, you know, and the passion for business. And we've been fortunate to work in other industries and other businesses over the years. And when you stripped it right back, I was shy and introverted. And yet when you got to the point of just enjoying people, you know, the rest of it it all kind of fell into place. And that's what I learned. You know, I was now the expert in turf and horticulture. I wasn't the expert at all, but what I did find is that I really enjoyed meeting a whole bunch of different kinds of people, and people are just people, and they all got stories to tell, and we ended up having some success in that business. And it wasn't that we had the best product or the greatest story, but we were able to form some pretty good relationships with people that appreciated what we were able to do and support them. And so, yeah, I could say I'm a turf and horticultural expert. I still love growing grass.
Now you can grow grass for real, man. Anytime. Just make that switch. It's a new market. Get some grass going. You can set up you could be vertically integrated. You could grow it in Virden, and you could retail it in Virden. You could make little brownies and big long donuts or whatever now.
Yeah.
So you could be an expert in grass.
Grass is the hottest crop going right now. You bet. Yeah.
That's right. Not hot now in the criminal sense. It's hot in the sexy. That's going to be a really interesting story to follow too. The whole marijuana industry, and if anybody's interested in that, take a look at High Profits on Netflix. It's a story about a young couple in Colorado that had a little medicinal marijuana shop that got going with the retail marijuana business, and it's really interesting, just a mind-blowing process. And one of the interesting things they found was that they had bags of cash from selling all this marijuana in their little shop in this little touristy town in Colorado, and they couldn't take it to the bank. They'd have big duffel bags of money. It's almost like Breaking Bad where you have to launder it, because you can't legally put cash in a bank that's from basically the drug trade. The laws didn't change enough to accommodate that new entrepreneurship. So that's pretty funny. But I really relate to your story about being an introvert, and I've had the pleasure of sort of getting over that part of my personality and time, and just appreciating the value of the network and the people that we work with. And yeah, I can turn a shy country boy into someone that really enjoys people and has the blessing of great opportunities in the industry. That's been great for me, because if I had taken a career in computer programming or something, I'd probably still sometimes I still am socially awkward, but but it really does build your people skills. I love to talk to those kids about that kind of thing on Monday. Like, hey, sales will really help you socialize, and from that you come to value. Like, hey, I have so much value in the relationship we build, and that's for us the fun in the network we're building. I'm sure you've experienced that working with all the people. I mean, I can't imagine over the years the dealer network and the customers and the companies that you work with. I'm sure that's, when you look back on it, that will be you won't think, oh, this product was really cool. I mean, you probably think the products are cool, but it's the people that you work with that make it extra special.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say don't be scared to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, right? Because it's you'll be amazed what you find, what you learn about yourself, and the opportunities you'll probably uncover by doing that, right? So, yeah,
exactly. No, that's awesome. Lots of good inspiration this morning. I appreciate it, my man. I think we're going to leave it at that, and look forward to working with you in the future. And it was really awesome for you to come on here. I know you're busy getting your kids ready to go and stuff like that, and you're a busy guy, going to hockey and banquets and all that stuff. It's a big part of your time up. But good luck out there, man. Yeah. Hey, thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure a lot of dealers were interested in hearing what you have to say, and I'm excited too. There's going to be lots of cool things coming down the pipeline here, I think, for us as we move forward. And but yeah, tourists, big inspiration to us. We look to what you guys are doing as really leaders in the market, and try and be like you every day. So, thanks, Craig.
What you ask for. You bet.
Well, it's kind of like our business. It looks really glorious on the outside. Like, oh, wow, man, that looks good.
Yeah, that's good.
Everybody has challenges. No, that's cool, man. Okay, well, take care. Thanks to all the dealers that came on today, and have a good one, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, we'll see you again, Craig. Bye for now.
Okay.